The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Community Chat with Collin. I am your host, Collin Dias. Today is Wednesday, October 4th, and we have a great show prepared for you guys today. I am joined by community activist, Mr. Joe Carvalho. Thank you for coming on my show, Mr. Carvalho. How was your day today?
Very good, actually. Thank you. And thanks for inviting me to be on.
No, anytime. My day was a little bit long day at school, long football practice. I'm sorry if I look a little bit of a mess today, but the show must go on and we must get the information to you, the viewers and citizens of our great city. Well, today's main topic, which is why I brought on Mr. Carvalho, we will be talking about the ongoing rail trail issue with a controversial road being proposed or was proposed over the Quequechan Rail Trail, and we're going to have hopefully 2 episodes. Today's episode is Mr. Carvalho is going to talk about why he is against the rail trail, the road being placed over the trail. Maybe on another episode we'll get the other side. But today we're going to talk about why Mr. Carvalho and many others are against this placing of a controversial road on a rail trail. But just before we get into that, Mr. Carvalho, can you just tell the viewers at home a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Of course, from Fall River. I'm actually a member of the Quequechan River Rail Trail, Friends of the Quequechan River Rail Trail, also a member of Green Futures, the environmental group, and the vice president of the Flint Neighborhood Association, where the end of the rail trail actually ends in our neighborhood association. Right. The other association that's part of the trail is actually the Niagara Neighborhood Association.
Niagara, okay.
Yes.
I believe you've been against further developments in the city before. May I mention LNG?
Sure.
And you're successful a great deal in keeping LNG from entering our city and the bad side effects that might have had. Could you just tell the viewers at home what made you go against LNG?
Well, it's a very dangerous energy source, and it would be coming up from actually from the Atlantic Ocean. It was going to be an import terminal in the north end of the city, extremely volatile. Actually, both hospitals, Charlton Memorial and St. Anne's at the time, had written letters to the editor saying how dangerous it would be if there was some kind of release of liquefied natural gas, LNG. Actually, the chair of St. Anne's Hospital had said that they might even be in the zone that would be hit by any kind of a release.
A potential explosion.
Well, it doesn't explode. But and what happens is if there was a leak of liquefied natural gas, it would travel. It's heavier than air, so it travels along the ground. And until it reaches an ignition source, and once it reaches the ignition source, it burns back to the source of the. Yeah. So the ship could have blown. Yes, absolutely.
Right, and there's other environmental issues around, but the bottom line is you were very involved in keeping our city safe. So here we are now, many years later, with the potential road on the trail. Why are you against this road being placed on the trail, potentially?
Sure. Well, Colin, first of all, the state of Massachusetts and all the taxpayers within the state paid $8 million to build this trail.
Right.
And it goes from behind Britland Park all the way to Brayton Avenue. Now, the plan that we surreptitiously got a hold of back in March or April actually showed where a road would go from a private entity, cross the rail trail, and then abut the rail trail out to Brayton Avenue. So first and foremost, here's a wonderful amenity. Everybody who's been on that trail has nothing but glowing praise for it. Some folks have even mentioned it's almost like you're not in the city.
It is. It's beautiful. It's just so not majestic, but I just go on. I don't feel like I'm in the city. I feel like I'm in a different world almost, like a different place. And
yeah, sure. You've got the Quequechan River that actually was the basis for this city being established.
Right.
And
exactly.
the wildlife and fauna, and flora. It's just an amazing bike trail, walking trail. We've seen moms with strollers. So now, even with all of that, kids on bikes, and now to have a 2-lane road just to accommodate a private enterprise going across a rail trail and a walking trail, and then abutting the trail out to Brayton Avenue, just is the most asinine idea I've ever heard. And believe me, at my age, I've heard quite a few asinine ideas. Believe me, I wish I hadn't.
I believe
but
you.
Yes,
I've heard it in my age too.
Really, as young as you are, and you've already, yeah, unfortunately. So it really doesn't make much sense. And by the way, the proposed 2-lane road that would cross the bike trail and then abut it out to Brayton Avenue actually is a public safety issue,
right?
For sure.
An environmental issue, public safety.
Yes, because there's wetlands on both sides of the rail trail, and the plan that we saw
was going to cross the trail.
Yeah, go right across it, 2 lanes.
Right.
2 lanes of traffic, 1 in and 1 out.
And
actually.
that's just going to spell disaster.
Oh, it's makes no sense to anyone, and further, it goes out onto Brayton Avenue, which is already 4 lanes with a median strip, but they made a cut in the median strip, and we questioned. I think it was Lynch, the construction company, because I live right on Easton Avenue, and I would go over, drive by, and I saw the Lynch trucks, and I would ask the workers. I said, "Hey, what's the cut in the median strip about?" And they came up with some, "Oh, this is for maintenance vehicles to be able to get across." I'm thinking, there's a set of lights right up at Easton Avenue and Brayton Avenue. There's another set of lights to get on to 24, where it accesses 195. Just no sense at all to any of this plan.
Okay, so you reviewed the plans in its entirety. I just wanted to ask you that because I was at the last city council meeting where this was brought up, and you're actually publicly mentioned by the administration, Joseph Macy, who said he was going to get you the plans or whatever, and you never showed up. That was his words.
Yeah, well, we had a request, for a meeting with Mr. Macy. Now, Corporation Counsel Macy. And we decided not to do that meeting because we were still gathering more information.
Okay.
Now, here's the point.
You never said that.
No, of course not. And what also happened was at a meeting on a Monday at Government Center, where the Bike Fall River and the Friends of the Quequechan River Rail Trail had an emergency meeting about this road. Attorney Macy showed up. The mayor showed up.
Right. Is that the one that was in the Herald News?
Yes.
Same meeting? Okay.
Yes. And when Corporation Counsel Macy was questioned about how come you didn't present all of this information or provide additional information, because in the order that the mayor sent down to the city council, the word road is nowhere to be found.
And and that was brought up. And again, there can be blame on both sides. Like the city council mentioned themselves, they should have did more research, but I believe the administration should have been more transparent with the city council and with the citizens at home.
Absolutely. Yes, and when Corporation Counsel Macy was asked about why he didn't provide additional information, there was a lot of legalese in that order that came down from the administration. He said no one asked him. So if no one asked him about that information, and he wasn't providing it on his own, but he was going to let Joe Carvalho know what the legalese was? And
yeah, I think that information would have been nice if he would have shared. I think no one should have asked. I think he should have been forefront with that information.
Absolutely.
But now, as we all know, the mayor released a press release to the public, which was already under ridicule at the council. He said in the press release that the city council approved the order, which is not true. They only adopted it. But in that same press release, they basically said for now there won't be any road. Do you believe the administration that there will be no more road, or do you still have skeptical thoughts?
More cynical thoughts, actually, Colin, than skeptical. And the reason I say that is because it was the mayor's order that was sent down to the city council. And as I understand it, that order back in February, March, was at a city council meeting that ended, I think, at 1:15 in the morning. So
yeah.
it was a tremendously lengthy city council meeting, as some of them have been wanting to be lately. So it's kind of like, you know, the old expression is seeing is believing. So the minute that we know that road, and believe me, you know, the groups that I mentioned, Green Futures, Bike Fall River, Quequechan River, Friends of the Quequechan River Rail Trail, are pursuing a lot of different options on the state level, on the private level, to make sure that this road never, ever, ever happens.
Has your coalition attained legal counsel?
We're looking into that, actually. We've reached out to Conservation Law Foundation, to the Attorney General's office, to the Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Department of Transportation, because they had some jurisdiction over the road as well, over the trail. So there's a whole host of ways to go at this, and we're pursuing every single one of them.
That's good. If something happens and the mayor goes back on his promise again and the road comes under construction, what procedures will you take to make sure this road does not come into?
Well, all of the legal procedures, some of the things that I just mentioned.
Okay.
And listen, I was on the Flint show on WSAR the day of the emergency meeting that we had at Government Center, and I had said on the show that if we weren't given satisfactory answers to some of the concerns that we had, that I was prepared to go and cause a ruckus at Government Center and be arrested. More than willing to be arrested to draw attention to this folly of a plan, all for a private developer. You know, it's kind of, it boggles the imagination. Anyone who's been on that trail, and there's been people from way outside of Fall River. We have bike trails in Rhode Island. and people have come and been on the trail, they all say the same thing. A road, a 2-lane road?
I know, it doesn't make any sense. And how, I'm actually asking because I'm curious to know, how would this 2-lane road ever come to be proposed? Like, would the private company have to talk to the mayor or the administration?
They already have.
So
There's
that's
no
I
doubt
don't
about
understand if this is massively opposed. I don't know what in the right mind the administration led by Joseph Carvalho would think this was a good idea, unless he knows the owner or whatever. But I don't.
Well, he does know the owner.
Oh, he
As
does
a matter
know
of
the
fact,
owner.
sure. When he did a press release, when they said that they're suspending the plan, he said that both the administration and the business owner, Paul Carrig,
Right.
Carrigg,
Right.
both acted in good faith. Now, that's not my opinion of acting in good faith. I don't know what the mayor's definition of good faith is, but I know it's not.
I don't know what it is. I don't think many people know.
Yeah.
But that's for another episode.
Yeah, and the mayor has received contributions to his campaign. One by the owner.
By Paul Carrig, really?
Yes. Yep, $1,000, which is the maximum that you can contribute.
Right.
Yeah, the co-owner, I believe it's the co-owner of the mills, Cloverleaf Mills, is Paul Carrigg's brother, and he gave $1,000 to the mayor's campaign. And Mrs. Carrigg, Paul Carrigg's wife, also gave $1,000 to the mayor. Now, and having said that, because Mayor Correa isn't the only politician that's involved in this kind of charade, if you will.
Really? Could you name the other politicians that are?
Yeah, sure. Senator Michael Rodrigues
Really?
has from the Carrig family as a whole entity. Senator Michael Rodrigues has received $22,400 in political contributions to his campaigns.
From the Carrig family.
Absolutely. That's a matter of public record. You can go on the Massachusetts Office of that's right, Office of Campaign and Political Finance.
Right.
And there's all the Carrig names right there. $22,000. So it kind of looks like someone, in addition to the mayor, has kind of like, no pun intended, but greased the rails on this folly of an idea. This is stupid. Actually, it's stupid to have a rail, a 2-lane road go across a rail trail that's arguably the best amenity that Fall River has offered to its citizens and citizens around the neighboring communities for years and years. Listen, this kind of a plan would never have even seen the light of day in Dartmouth or even Westport or Somerset, Swansea, you name it. This kind of a thing would never have even been written on a piece of paper, let alone an order sent down to the city council. This is absolutely ridiculous. It makes no sense. It's one of the most major public safety issues that this city has ever faced.
Really? Well, I believe it, and I'll be quite frank, I'm not really surprised to hear that the mayor received contributions from that owner you faced. I would like to bring up a previous point you mentioned about would you consider actively protesting at City Hall as an option?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we have a rally to stop the road on Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
October 21st, and that's going to be at right at the Brayton Avenue entrance to the trail. It's going to take place around noon. We're going to ask people to come a bit earlier. We've had stickers made up already
Really?
that say no road on the trail. We're going to have signs made. One of the signs I might make up is Senator Roderick's $22,400 from the Carrick family.
You know what? I think that's public knowledge, and the public should know that.
Absolutely.
For a big issue.
Absolutely.
Have you considered reaching out to other state representatives to maybe pass a legislation or whatnot? Maybe
that was actually mentioned today. We were looking into possibly drafting some legislation that would keep the trail a trail and not a crossover for a two-lane road. So,
who manages the district? Would that be Mr. Alan Sylvia?
well,
or?
no, it's actually, well, you know what? Part of it, it's one of those because we have.
Oh, half the roads divided.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's half. I know that the extreme east end towards Brayton Avenue and Eastern Avenue is Representative Paul Schmidt.
Right.
And listen, when they had the dedication of the Alfred J. Lima Quequechan River Rail Trail a couple of Saturdays ago, 3 of the representatives were there. Representative Sylvia, Representative Fiola, and Representative Schmidt. And noticeably absent, was Senator Roderick's. Geez, I wonder why. After
I'll
that,
bet you $22,000. Just kidding. Go on.
and I spoke, not just me, but several people spoke to the representatives and said, you need to do everything in your power to make sure that this road never, ever happens.
Right. Who runs, it would be Mr. Sylvia who runs the part with the company, where the company is located?
I'm not sure what
So the company is located right next to the rail trail, right? The private company?
Yes. Yeah, it's in 2 mills, Cloverleaf Mills.
Right, Cloverleaf
One was built in 1884, the other one was built in 1895. Bristol Elders has offices in one of those mills. On the Father DeVal's Boulevard that comes from Eastern Avenue down to the parking lot. I would almost imagine that 200 cars fit on that parking lot. And the owner of the mill, Paul Carrig, has, because some of the parking spaces abut the rail trail, so you can be parked.
I've seen the pictures.
You have?
Yes.
No parking for the trail?
Right.
Cars will be towed at the owner's expense?
Right. It was on the Herald News. Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, really? Yeah. Maybe they got that picture from me because I took some of those pictures. I shouldn't say that because maybe Mr. Carrig will have me arrested for trespassing or something, but that's okay. More attention to the issue. That's fine with me. I survived Vietnam, so
wow.
This is like a walk in the park for me.
Right. Yeah, I was just learning in history class about the Vietnam protests. I don't mean to go off topic in the Vietnam War.
Yes, it's a great series by Ken Burns. I have the 10 DVDs, 18
oh, wow,
hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, nice. We're starting to run out of time. We have a few more minutes to go, but before we wrap up, 5 more minutes to go. I'll ask a few more questions before we wrap up. With your opinion, what percentage of a chance do you believe this road still starts to be developed? I know the administration said, as of right now, the road. Oh, one more point I wish to bring up. I was at the meeting, and Mr. Macy said he does not want any road on the trail after Mr. Correa told you if you don't want a road, you don't have to have a road.
That's right.
Mr. Joe Macy said if he doesn't want a road, the administration does not want a road on the trail. If the road is made not on the trail but near the trail, will you still oppose the road?
Absolutely. The trail was built and paid for by the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts just for the reasons that are obvious, to offer as an amenity, nature. We've had historic talks there. We had people dress up as in time period pieces that used to work in mills.
I bet there's tourism.
That's another aspect of the whole thing. We've had bike clubs come to the trail from Rhode Island, from other places in Massachusetts. It's just been such a wonderful amenity to then have a road, even abut it, let alone cross it. It makes no sense. It actually defeats the whole purpose of what the goal for the road, for the trail was to be. And that's for recreation, for exercise. I walk on the trail. And just the beauty of nature, to be one with nature. You know, Henry David Thoreau, Walden Pond. I mean, you know, we have a little piece of that. And to spoil it and to desecrate it, really, with a two-lane road in and out of the place is just totally ridiculous.
Right. I agree with you. Well, I agree with your points that you were making. And I just agree. But I'm just going to mention one more thing. There is a public hearing coming up in a few weeks. The city council passed for this issue. I'm guessing you'll be attending that public hearing.
Wouldn't miss it.
I don't believe the city council mentioned a date yet, so I can't give that out to the audience. I'm sorry, but there will be a public hearing in the next 21 days. So probably the city council meeting already passed. So in the next 15 days, check the city website for a public hearing on this very controversial issue facing our city. And I'm going to end on this note. If you were to say anything right now to the mayor, what would you tell him about this issue?
I would tell him to keep his promise. He promised the 80 people that were at Government Center for the Friends of the Quequechan River Rail Trail and Bike Fall River, Green Futures, Flint neighborhood, Niagara neighborhood. You made a promise that the road would not happen. And if I could, lastly, I want people to make a note that October 21st, a Saturday, right at the Brayton Avenue end of the rail trail, we are going to have a rally. We'll start approximately at 12 noon. We'd love to have people be there a little earlier. We're certainly going to have media coverage, and we're certainly going to have signs, possibly petitions for people to sign. We certainly urge everyone to call the mayor's office, tell them how you feel about the trail, call your state legislators, especially Senator Rodericks, and Representative Schmid, Fiola, and Sylvia, and tell them in the strongest terms possible that this road cannot be allowed to happen.
Well, I'd like to thank you. That wraps up our time, everyone. I'd like to thank Mr. Carvalho for coming on my show and talking about a very important and controversial issue facing our city. I will see you next week, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you
for coming.
Thank you.